Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories mixed with Am I the Arsehole as well. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, you cheeky so-and-so. And let's crack on with today's first story. And our first story comes from a throwaway account who says, "Am I the arsehole for refusing to babysit my biological son because of a family emergency on his mother's side?" And of course comes an update too. It sounds like an arsehole thing from the title, but let me just give a few extra details. Here's my biological son, but I haven't been allowed in his life or am recognized as one. This happened after a pretty fucked up night of getting high off my ass with my brother and his wife. Add in alcohol and we were all pretty effed up. Most of the night was a blur, but basically her and I slept together with his permission and he was also there. But in the morning we realized how badly we all messed up and agreed it will never happen again. My brother and I became a little estranged for a while because it was too weird to be around each other. They later announced being pregnant, but I thought I was safe because she took plan B the morning after it happened, just in case. After he was born, I was getting doubts though and really wanted to know for sure he wasn't mine. My brother eventually agreed to a paternity test and that said, I'm the father. I've been wanting to be in my son's life, but they won't let me. My family was on his side about it and told me to stop being selfish because on paper, this is his child, since they are married. And if I'm around, it's going to complicate their marriage even more. The whole time I tried to convince them, my parents would say I'm a horrible younger brother. He felt that way too, when I'd ask if I could at least come over to maybe play with him for a little bit. But about 2 months ago, I gave up but kept my distance from them because it hurts too much. He's 10 months old, still haven't gotten to hold him, but now, because his mother-in-law got into an accident, they want me to watch him for a few days. My brother is flying with her to go see her mum because he has to help her out too. Our parents right now are in the UK for a couple of months. They can't bring him because they're worried he might get sick if they take him to an airport. My brother says it's only 3 days. If there was anyone else that could watch him, they'd ask, but he really needs help. I told him no because he's fine with me being a sitter when it's at their convenience, but I'm not allowed to be a dad to my son. Then it might also hurt a lot more to actually spend time with him than to have to give him back and not be allowed to see him anymore. We started arguing and we were yelling at each other. My brother told me to grow up and stop being petty about what happened, even more right now that there's an actual emergency and they need someone's help. I do feel bad because I get it's a serious issue happening with her mum, so they need to be there. At the same time, I'm still mad about what they did, so I don't know if that's just being petty or not. Am I the arsehole? Holy moly, what is this? Did I read this right? That, they were all together, the two brothers and the wife, and they decided to sleep together and the brother was watching at the same time. Yeah, oh dear. And the first comment is pretty much on this one. JimRo83 says, "Not the arsehole. Everyone sucks here." Oh, fucked if I know. This is above Reddit's pay grade. We need Jerry Springer for this one. And it's one of those stories that always breaks my heart. Whenever there's children involved, it always gets to me because the child is the one who's going to suffer because of a group of people's poor decision making. And I think for the actual question itself that OP asked, am I the arsehole for refusing to babysit my biological son because of a family emergency on his mother's side? Yeah, I would say that is a not the arsehole because what happens afterwards, like you said, that they just take the child away and you have nothing to do with it again, that's just heartbreaking. And I'm no expert on this, but isn't there no way that they could go down a legal route to get visitation of the child? But I think if we was to look at the whole wider picture from an outside view kind of thing, I think it'd be very close on the everyone sucks here path because you guys decided to create the situation. And I'm not saying they don't deserve to see their child or anything like that, but if you create a situation like this, there's going to be shit everywhere basically. But Lorio1964 says, "Not the arsehole. After you watch him for 3 days, then what? They rip him from your arms again. They're lucky you haven't sued for visitation." Wolfpack says, "Jesus, listen, we all read some messed up stuff on Reddit and absolutely every single one has an opinion. This one though, I think is a collective what the fuck. For future reference though, plan B will not work if the spermie and the eggy have already connected. As you know by now, so don't ever fuck any other woman married to your family members. I never want to hear spermy and eggy in a sentence again. SW and Stonk says everyone sucks here. Holy shit, what a disaster. From start to finish, everyone involved made piss poor decisions. Hope this child ends up okay. He deserves better than all of you. This is a Jerry Springer episode. Be better than this moving forward. All of you. Storm Surger replies to that one saying, I'm not super invested in either side of this story, but I'm curious. What did OP do wrong? As weird as the whole sleeping with your sister-in-law with your brother's permission thing is, it's not really an arsehole thing to do. To which SW and Stonks replies to again saying the entire situation is a mess. From sleeping with your brother's wife while hammered, finding out that you are the father, not bothering to pursue parental rights, then those freaks asking him to babysit knowing he wants a relationship with them and they don't want him to. It all sucks. All of them created this mess, and yes, sorry, sleeping with your brother's wife is not only weird, but doing it under those circumstances is disgusting and an arsehole thing to do. They all suck for that. Everyone sucks here. And one more from Real Talk Fast Walk who says everyone sucks here for creating this situation in the first place. Either suck it up and let your brother be the kid's father and stop fighting it, or go to a lawyer and get your parental rights established and prepare to be estranged from your family. But stop whining about not getting to be the kid's father and uncle at the same time in only the ways you want, and think about what's best for this poor baby boy. And again, that's all I can think about in this situation is, that child's future. If this doesn't get resolved, one day the story of who his father is may and is likely, from what we've seen in these stories in the past, to come out, and then it's got to be explained what happened. I mean, shit. But the update says, I know there was a lot of mixed opinions on my last post about this, but it still helped a lot hearing feedback from others about this. Support for not wanting to put my heart in a position to be hurt by accepting, but also advice on how to handle the situation. I get it's an extremely weird situation and people had their things to say about it. I still want to say thank you to those who genuinely wanted to help and for your honest judgment. In the end, I did change my mind about watching my son. Honestly, it was one of the most challenging days at first. It took a while to get in tune with his routine. The first couple of nights he was fussy because I was a stranger to him. Little by little we warmed up. He's gotten so big and it totally blew my mind getting that chance to finally hold him. It meant everything. It was very emotional for me. Their trip ended up being longer than the 3 days they anticipated. They left on the 14th late at night and been gone over a week. Which was great because I got to spend so many more days with my son and it was just amazing. They had barely got back yesterday in the evening. Saying goodbyes was hard as I was scared it was gonna be. It tore me up. Last night I barely slept. Just how much it was hurt not to be around him. My brother and I talked this morning to ask him again if it would ever be possible for them to let me be in my son's life as his dad. Trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation. Because I'm not trying to take him away from them, but I want to be able to spend time with him. Have some sort of shared custody. Not right away obviously, because he's still a baby, but after spending more time establishing a relationship with him and he's older, then discussing more custody time. He was still against that, so I guess that's my answer for this. Sister-in-law called me earlier to say thank you for watching him. She's sorry because she understands how badly I want to be in my son's life, but my brother just doesn't want that and she has to be on his side about this. I've taken a lot of time thinking about this after my post and decided I'm going to fight for my right as his father. I've had one consult so far with an attorney. This one was much helpful than the last time I tried talking to one about this. While he doesn't guarantee I'll get anything more than visitation, there's a chance I'll be able to establish paternity through the court. He wanted me to know that it's going to be an uphill battle, so to be ready for that. And honestly, I am. It's a shitty situation. I just want to be in my son's life as his father, not anything less. And as always, there were some speculations in the comments below saying, maybe it was a plan all along and the brother had fertility issues and they used OP to have a child. Quite a few people saying, just by OP doing what they're going to be doing, they're just going to be making their situation worse in some ways, rather than being an uncle that could be in the child's life all the time. By keep calling themselves dad, they're just further segregating themselves from their family and possibly their child. But I don't know. What do you guys make of this situation? Absolute wild one there to get us started with. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, this next story comes from a throwaway account titled, Am I the Arsehole for Filing a Police Report Against My Nephew? My mum has late stage Alzheimer's and has been unable to manage her money and needs around the clock care. It probably would be safer to put her in a nursing home, but she made us promise to only do that as a last resort. Thankfully, she had a lot of investments and savings from my dad before he passed, so we can get her a hired personal carer in her own home. My sister is the one who lives the closest and visits her often, so she handles my mum's finances. We give my sister $200 a month each for her to run errands and help look after my mum since we both live out of state. My other sister called me to tell me there's been a lot of cash withdrawals recently on my mum's card. I checked and there's nearly a year's worth of 3 to 400s withdrawn. We called my sister who is handling finances and she is confused and says she never takes out any cash, she only pays bills with the bank card and uses CC for the groceries, etc. She freezes the bank card and I take a red eye over. Long story short, we asked the bank where the ATM withdrawal happened. My sister looks shocked when she Googles the location and realizes it's close to her son's school. We waited until the son got home and asked him where he worked, and he said a local restaurant. We said we'd like to go with him to the restaurant to confirm he works there, and he got really panicked and said the management just changed, so they wouldn't know him. I asked for his paycheck, and he finally gives up and admits he doesn't have a job. My sister asked him where the money for the new stuff he brought home comes from, and he admits he steals the bank card to make cash withdrawals. I asked him where he got the pin, and my sister confessed she writes her pins on sticky notes so she doesn't forget them. I take the bank statements and calculate out that he owns $14,308. I told him he has to pay it back now, or I'm filing a police report on him for theft, and my sister begs me not to, saying if he has anything on his record, he might not get into college. I told her I won't if she pays it, but she said she's struggling and doesn't have the money. She's a single mother. I told her that it isn't good enough, and she complains her son is only 16 and doesn't know any better. I told her they won't put a 16-year-old in jail, but he might do it again when he's older, so it's better to learn his lesson now. She said we can just take out of what her son's inheritance would be from our mum, and I yell that if our mum was in a state to judge, she would write him out of her will for this. I call up my lawyer and ask what I should do, and he suggests filing a police report, but not including my nephew's name just yet. I did just that, and my sister is screaming at me that I'm ruining her son's life by involving the police, and he's only a kid. I'm not happy about it, but at 16, if he's stealing from his own grandma who looked after him when his mum was sick, I can't imagine what he's going to do when he's older. Now we cover not exactly the same story, but very, very similar in this situation, protecting family because, he's just a kid or whatever, but he's 16. He knows the difference between right and wrong. He knows stealing is wrong, especially from your grandma who's not well. That's absolutely insane. Sure, he might not have thought about in the future it could really damage his chances of getting into college if he gets caught doing this. Absolutely, but these are still the consequences of your actions, and it's going to be a lesson he's going to have to learn. And the only way I can think of it is if I was to think back, when my dad was ill and stuff like that, and if one of my nieces or nephews or any family member done that to my dad, because obviously we had to take care of his finances at that time. If any of my family members was to disrespect my dad like that when he's going through what he's going through, I wouldn't have much to do with them anymore, and that's a guarantee. But Sucker for Cat says, not the arsehole. I'm a former adult protective social worker, and this is exploitation and a crime. If you're in the US and your mum needed a nursing home in the next 5 years, Medicaid, which pays for long-term care, audits the finances upon submitting an application. They could deny paying her bill until the amount that was stolen was paid back or paid by someone, the family, to the facility for that amount that was taken. He either needs to get a job and pay back every penny he stole or face the justice system. This behavior needs to have consequences. My sister did this when she was young and my parents did nothing. She now has multiple felonies for theft, identity theft, and stealing credit cards. He needs to learn a lesson. Parsimonious Salad says, not the arsehole. Better to report it now when he's a minor than to have him take the lesson that there are no consequences into adulthood. $14,000 is a lot of money. He needs to 1. Sell off everything he can that he bought, and 2. Get a job to start repaying that money. It's not all on his mother. Yeah, and going back again with, $14,000 is a huge amount of money. And thinking about it, what was his end game in this? Was he expecting no one was ever going to find out that amount of money was missing? One says, not the arsehole, reading this turned my stomach. if my mother had caught me stealing money from any end-stage Alzheimer's patient, let alone my own grandmother, everything in my room would have been immediately sold. I'd have 2 jobs, and college wouldn't even be on the table as an option until I finished paying off my debt. 16 years old is enough to know better, and the fact he doesn't yet is raising serious red flags. This needs to be nipped in the bud now. Honestly, you were far more gracious than I would have been by keeping his name off the initial report. If your sister doesn't understand the severity of the crime he committed, she can't be counted on to enforce proportionate consequences. I'm sorry it's fallen to you to deal with this. KTP says, not the arsehole. I understand your sister's concerns, but 16 is old enough to know that stealing is wrong. Once is a mistake, but the repeated withdrawals shows he has no regard for anyone but himself. You left his name out of it for purposes of the police report, which was kind of you. Now the kid needs to A. Sell everything he bought with the stolen money, and B. Actually get a job and make a written payment plan to pay back his grandmother. As long as the terms of repayment are being fulfilled, his name stays off the police report. If he misses a payment and doesn't have a good reason for it, like he had to pay for an unexpected car repair or something, then he will be prosecuted. Actions have consequences, and it sounds like it's long past time for your nephew to learn this lesson. And pretty much all the way through, it's a not the arsehole from everyone. But what do you guys make of this situation? And I'm curious because I don't know about it, but keeping the name off this police report, I assume the police have the police report. Is there a set amount of time before they can add his name and get him in trouble for it, or does it become void after a certain amount of time because they didn't report it? I don't even know if I'm making much sense when I'm saying that, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from a throwaway account who says, am I the arsehole for asking my sister's cop husband to stand watch at my wedding? Okay, so here's the situation. My fiance's parents, my in-laws, aren't approving of our relationship. We asked why, tried to work it out, but to no avail. The drama started once we announced our engagement and sent out the wedding invitations. My fiance's parents lost their invitations after threatening to show up and ruin the wedding. But since the wedding will be held at my house, then I won't guarantee that provoking their invitations will stop them. Matter of fact, that made them more pissed. I kept stressing about that, and since our budget could barely cover wedding expenses, I figured hiring security guards won't be possible. I met up with my sister and her cop husband. We're not close. Days ago at my parents' house. I told them what's been going on with my in-laws and asked my brother-in-law if he could secure the wedding and stand watch from the start to finish to make sure no shit shows or interruptions will happen. For some reason, the room went radio silent. My brother-in-law just stared at me and then covered his mouth like he was pissed or something. I explained again how much of wackos my in-laws are basically, and I'm just trying to make sure that my wedding won't get ruined. He kept quiet, but I told him it's my only way and he perhaps should say yes because of my financial situation. My sister asked me to follow her to the kitchen, then went off on me saying I was way out of line and should stop treating her husband as my servant and expecting him to do whatever I want just because I felt bold enough to ask. She also said she was appalled that I'd even consider making my brother-in-law play security guard and not attend the wedding like any other decent guest. I argued that I only asked because he has a background when it comes to taking extra precautions, and also I cannot afford to hire professional security. That would be a bad idea anyway because my friends will start asking questions. But if it's my brother-in-law, who's experienced in dealing with these kind of situations and knows how to de-escalate, then that's a win-win. She said I offended him and disrespected him, and her as well, then told me he doesn't have to do anything for me, and my problems are mine to deal with and not his to worry about. I said fine, but I won't be welcoming him at the wedding then. She berated me saying I'm an opportunist arsehole and walked out. They left shortly, and my parents said I really shouldn't have asked them, pressed the issue by saying my brother-in-law isn't welcome to the wedding if he says no. Am I the arsehole, or were they overreacting? Come on now. Come on now. Of course you're going to be the arsehole in this situation. You said to him, you either work at my wedding for free, or you're not welcome to the wedding. And I kind of had the impression on the start of that first paragraph when she asked you to the kitchen and said you was way out of line and should stop treating her husband as my servant. I kind of got the impression that, this isn't the first time but you're trying to get him to do things for you for free or whatever. And even though he is a policeman or anyone really, getting him to take responsibility of your crazy in-laws turning up and your big day, that's a lot of responsibility to ask someone, even if they was paid. I'd personally hate to be in that position. And whenever there's ones like this where there's drama going on, you know, fiance's parents lost their invitations and are threatened to show up, I wonder why they lost their invitations when, you know, OP was so quick to take away brother-in-law's invitation in this. Why were the fiance's invitations taken away? I wish we knew that much. I'm really curious about that. Absolutely, you're the arsehole in this to me. Northern Wombat says, you're the arsehole. Can you work at my wedding for free? No? Then don't come to my wedding. Yep, you're the arsehole here. Catnip Hooligan says you're the arsehole. First, you ask your brother-in-law to work at your wedding, which is totally inappropriate. He's family. You're supposed to want him there to celebrate with you and your fiance, not be a free bouncer. But wait, you doubled down on your entitlement, telling him that not only should he agree because you don't have a budget for security, but he's uninvited if he doesn't do it. You should apologize to your brother-in-law and elope. And one more from Caitlin who says, you're the arsehole. Imagine you get invited to a wedding, but instead they want you to watch it. For free, lol. Are you actually joking? He's a cop. He has a stressful life that probably takes up 90% of his time and energy already, and now you want him to do it some more. For free. Because you can't be an adult and handle your own parents. Literally, what were you thinking? Edit. Also, please stop using your wedding tickets as a bargaining/threatening tool. I doubt people want to go that much. I also know in the UK, I'm not sure if it's the same in other places as well, like with bouncers and stuff. I'm not sure if it's the same with all private security, that you need to have some sort of license, is it? Specifically for that. So I do wonder if the police officer could get himself in trouble, if trouble was to go down and he was have to use some sort of force to do it, he could maybe get himself in trouble, I think. But I don't know, I'm just throwing that one out there. Could be totally wrong, of course. But what do you guys make of this situation? Put yourself in that guy's shoes and you was asked this question. How would you feel? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today. 20 to 30 minutes is absolutely amazing. I can never thank you enough for what you do. It's absolutely incredible. I'm blown away every single time. Thank you so much for your love, time, and support, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today